Thank you for tuning in to the Survivor Not By Chance podcast. We discuss survivor stories from all walks of life with guests who have turned their traumatic experiences into inspirational stories. The show is for entertainment purposes only. We do not claim to be medical professionals, nor do we give medical advice. Let's get started. Come on in and enjoy the show.
Let's meet Asia Carroll, host of Survivor Not By Chance podcast. Asia is the author of The Pressures of Becoming a Diamond. She is a life coach here to help you through life's issues. Asia is also a psychic medium. Let her dive into your future. Contact Asia at www.survivornotbychance.com.
Welcome back to Survivor Not By Chance podcast. I am your host, Asia Carroll. Thank you all so much for being here with me. I sincerely apologize. I'm running a little bit late today. I had mommy duties, but I am here to come with some great information. Today, we're going to be speaking about mental health and how important it is to all of our communities and how we need to take better care of our mental health. So let me get started by saying we have an amazing special guest. Her name is Latesha Higgs, and she's going to bring some amazing information about her journey and her journey in regards to her mental health. So I'm going to pull some cards to see what Spirit has to say for the collective today. I know that, a lot of us are dealing with so many different things that are happening in the world. And the card that comes up, it says moon mating, new beginnings. So we're talking about mental health, and we're talking about how it's important to take care of your mental health. So there is going to be new beginnings for some people in regards to taking care of themselves, moving forward, having good self-care practices to be sure that they're clearly opening up themselves to the world in the way that they should show up for it. So I want to bring Leticia on the show. Leticia, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. Thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you began your journey with mental health and in regards to advocating for others.
Well, I am a mental health speaker and advocate. I began speaking through, I became in our own voice presenter for NAMI. NAMI stands for National Alliance on Mental Illness, and it's the nation's largest grassroots organization dedicated to educating the public about mental illness, as well as advocating for those that have a mental illness in their families. I became an advocate and a speaker because of my own personal illness. I actually have been diagnosed with bipolar type 2 disorder. And my last therapist said also some anxiety. So, a little bit of that as well. So what I wanted to do was to advocate for others that have experienced those things, and particularly in the Black community, and in even more specifically in the Black church. I am a Christian woman, and so there have been a lot of misconceptions when it comes to mental health in the Black church. And I say the Black church because that's the only church that I've been in, so I can't say for other churches. I'm quite sure it's probably the same, but for me, my experiences have been in the Black church. So I only can speak from my experiences in the Black church. And so as a Christian woman, I wanted to show others that having a mental health issue or managing mental illness is not a faith issue. It doesn't mean that you don't have belief in God or anything like that. Is that it is a chemical imbalance. It is a something that you can manage and be successful and survive and thrive with. So that's why I got into this.
And that's the best reason to do it, because you're doing it from experience. And so when you're doing something from experience, it allows people to see you in a different light, and people can relate to your story. And I appreciate you even being here to share your story with us. So I have been diagnosed with PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. I was also diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I was on 10 plus different types of medications for my anxiety and depression and PTSD. What most people do not realize is that PTSD is not only a mental health illness that is derived from people who are in the military, but you can get PTSD from a car accident. You can get PTSD from growing up in a rough childhood. You can get PTSD from being in a domestic violence situation. You can get PTSD from so many different traumas that can happen to you in your life. And so it's very important for us to share our stories and share awareness on how you can deal with these types of conditions. Today, I no longer take any of those medications. I use plant medicine as well as meditation as a way for me to cope through my anxiety, PTSD, and depression. I no longer have the symptoms the way that I used to because I found what works for me. Now, I do not say don't take medication from the doctors. Everyone has different chemical imbalances that need different supplements to help them, get to where they need to be. I also have a mother who has bipolar disorder too. And so I do want to focus on bipolar today because it is it's an illness that most people just don't understand. Okay. And so, Leticia, tell me about your experience with bipolar disorder.
Well, first, I think it was hard for me to accept it because what I saw as bipolar or someone in my family who was bipolar, I was like, no, I'm not. I don't do that. But what I had to understand, it's like a spectrum disorder. It manifests itself differently in different people. And not only that, bipolar 2 is quite, it's you still have your ups and downs, but it's still different from bipolar 1. And what I mean by that is with bipolar 1, whereas if this is the line where you're stable, I'm going to make sure I keep my, so if this is the line where you're stable, this is stability line, right? With bipolar 1, you get more manic, you have manic episodes, but then when you come down to depression, it's about right here. Whereas with bipolar 2, if you are, this is stability line, you don't get fully manic, you get hypermanic. And that hypomania looks more like productivity. So for me, when I was in hypermania, I had a lot going on. I sometimes I don't even realize I'm in hypomania because I have so much going on. I feel so productive. I feel, it feels good. But when my body lets me know, Leticia, this is not good, because I begin to my body begins to react in ways like I break out in eczema, like my eczema will flare up. I start itching very bad, or I'm not sleeping as much as I should, or things like that. So with bipolar 2, like I said, I don't get manic. I get more hypomanic, but then I come way down to depression. So it's a lot more depressed days than anything. And for me, what I explained that with bipolar, I pretty much feel the same emotions as everyone else because I'm a human being.
Right.
But my emotions for me are more intense. So just a good day for anyone would be like an ecstatic, wonderful day for me. Like it's just other people like, okay, it's not that serious. But for me, it's just like it's the world, But if I'm having a bad day or something happened, it's like my whole life is over. I can't explain it. It's just those emotions are very, very intense. Whatever the emotion is if it's anger, if it's frustration, it's excitement, if it's fear, whatever the emotion is, it's magnified even more. So what I had to do was learn how to, when I'm in those experiences or when I'm feeling those emotions, to recognize what I'm feeling, label what I'm feeling, and then tell myself, okay, how intense do I really want to feel? It's like, let's bring it down, things like that. So I have to control it. So there are even times when, like at my job, if a student shares something with me that's so sad, other people would be like, oh man, I feel bad. But on the inside, I'm ready to cry. I'm ready to call whoever I got to call to make sure the situation gets right. It's just that intense. But what I have to do is, because I know that my emotions are much more magnified, I have to stop. I have to sit back and I have to think. And then I can't allow my emotions to be dictators, but indicators instead. Let me know, okay, yeah, this is not right. This is how you feel. What they did is not right. Come on, let's work through this. So I gotta literally constantly manage my emotions so that it doesn't take over me.
Wow, you explained that so very well. Thank you so much. Because even to this day, I still have some confusions when it comes to bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. And it's a lot of people who do. And from my experience growing up, they just call people with mental health conditions crazy,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. And that's not something that should be labeled as crazy at all. It is a mental health condition that can be manageable with the right doctors, with the right treatment, with the right person, using whatever practices that they can use to make their lives more manageable. And so I like how you said you understand when you are starting to get into that hyperactive phase where you break out, you're paying attention to the signs, you're paying attention to even listening to what someone else is telling you, how it affects you emotionally. And from my perspective and the way I believe in regards to mental health conditions, a lot of people are more spiritual who have some mental health conditions, and they just don't know how to manage it appropriately,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if we had more conversations like this, it'll allow people to know it is safe. You can have a mental health condition and still be successful. You can have a mental health condition and still be, in a loving relationship. You can have a mental health condition and still be able to give yourself self-care. So let's talk about some of the self-care tips that you may use.
So for me, I make sure I see a therapist. I'm also part of a support group. Now, I just moved down here to Georgia, so I'm in the process of trying to find a therapist. So, but that is important for me. I love talk therapy. That helps a lot because it allowed me to get all those thoughts in my head out and actually reason through it and help me to make sense of those thoughts. So I do journal, maybe not as often as I want, but I do journal. Like I said, I've been dealing, going back to the gym more. Um, let's see, I'm working on eating healthy. I'm one of those people that like to eat whatever I see, and it wouldn't be it wouldn't. It's like for me because I don't seem to put on much weight, so it's just like if I put on the weight, I probably would manage what I eat a lot better, but I definitely need to eat, a lot healthier because I'm getting older and I'm definitely seeing some pounds sticking a little longer than it normally does. Okay. So I gotta manage that. But I make sure I take my time to pray. I take some time to rest, rest. I'm also the main thing is I do a lot of preventive measures. Managing mental health for me has been doing a lot of preventive work. And what that looks like is I'm not going around anything or anyone that triggers me. I did a post earlier today and I talked about that you are the CEO of your own life. And as part of being the CEO of your own life, you get to choose who you give access to you. And so me being the CEO of my own life, I have to learn how to lead it. I have to be, because I am in a lot of leadership roles. But before I can do that, I got to lead me. And so I have to, as the CEO of my own life, I have to learn how to lead me effectively. I have to learn how to, know the difference between company and then somebody adding value to my life. You're not adding value to my life, then why are you taking up my time? Why am I giving you my time really? Why am I allowing because we're not doing anything right now, you're just company. And sometimes, we may just need the company, but when company turns into taking up so much of your time where they're not adding value, it's pointless. So I do a lot of preventive things like that, watching who I give access to me, what managing my thoughts, um, like I said, staying in contact with the Lord, meaning I'm always praying and I'm always talking to him. When I go to sleep, I like to calm my brain, because that's another thing with bipolar. It's hard to sleep sometimes because your brain is constantly going, constantly thinking. So what I like to do is just constantly keep my brain, not going so much, by listening to worship music in the morning. I've recently started trying this CBD oil without the THC, because I'm a teacher, and the last thing I need is to get tested, and I'm like, no, I don't smoke, it's this oil. So I do it without the THC. I went to a very reputable company, and black owned organization, so I was a black owned company, so I was happy about that. And she broke it down a lot for me, and so I've recently been taking that, and I see a little bit. I'm just starting, so I'm not gonna see a whole lot of effects, but I'm seeing something. I'm seeing something now. I'm setting boundaries. I set limits. Part of giving access is setting boundaries and limits to yourself. It's just certain things I have to, and disciplining myself. If I know certain things trigger me, I have to discipline myself to keep away from it. If I know certain people trigger me with their words or their actions, you know, um, I got to discipline myself to stay away from them. Now, people may go, well, that shouldn't be too hard if they toxic. But what they don't understand, what I mean is, with bipolar, also you have something called hypersexuality, and there are some people that you will look at and you just be like, okay, I'm ready to go. So you have to discipline yourself. Like, no, I can't do that. Mm-mm. When I'm feeling a certain way, and I know this person is not good for me, let me get myself in the gym. And that's what I mean by disciplining yourself as well. It's not just keeping from from the people that are so toxic, and they just speak negative things into your life, but people that's just not adding value, period. They're just there. So that's what I do. I can't say one or two or even three things, because there's so many things that I
Right.
do.
Yeah.
So many things that I do. This past weekend, I hung out with my sister circle, and we were at here Pond City Market here in Atlanta, and just having lunch.
Mm.
Just that I turned off my laptop, because I found that from the beginning of this year until Saturday, last Friday, I was on my laptop constantly doing work, planning, managing, doing different things. And I saw myself getting stressed, and I said, wait a minute, it's time to set limits. It's time to set boundaries. So I turned off my laptop for that day and hung out with my sister friends, and didn't feel guilty about it at all. Um, Another thing is I like to have a morning ritual, and that morning ritual includes making up the bed. I read this book called The Morning Miracle. Oh, I'm reading it now. And one of the things it talked about, was having a morning routine. So for me, my routine is making up the bed, and I have to make up the bed. I start with that. Then I get in the shower. Then I go ahead and do my whole facial routine, after while I'm in the shower, and when I come out, I do all of it. But while I'm doing that, I'm listening to worship music, because I need to set my mind, because the day is going to bring you challenges. The day is going to bring you challenges, whether you have a mental illness or not. It's going to bring you challenges. And so you have to set your mind to prepare for that. You're going to win the day, but how you win it and come back home, and how you finish it, depends on you. And so for me, I have to set my mind. I have to get in the mood. I may, read some scriptures. I definitely pray. Um, and I don't listen to the news in the morning. Mm-mm. When I need to get the news, I read it, so that when I don't want to be bothered, I don't have to read it. and then I can just get the gist. I can, I can skim through the article to get the point without having to read some of those details that could depress me.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of, but that took me getting to know me,
Right.
getting to know the disorder, getting to know the triggers, and then trial and error about what works and what does not.
You
So
gave
this year I've
some
done a lot of
amazing
pruning.
tips. Yes.
Yes, I've done a lot of pruning. Like sometimes you just gotta, like CEOs, when I say you got to be the CEO of your life, one of the things I said is they also watch who are on their team.
Yes.
I love how my pastor says that you don't go as high as your dream, you go as high as your team. And so I'm careful of the people I surround myself with. And I have different levels. There are some people where one or two that I can tell everything to, that will be honest with me and just like, Leticia, you might want to reconsider or something, like, because they're really looking out for my best interest. And then there are some people where I just need to hang out with, and meaning just relax and escape the day. These are the people that are my company people, but at the same time, my company people, when we have meaningful conversations, they do add some type of value because we have awesome, meaningful conversations. So I'm even careful about that when it comes to my company people, because I don't want to be sitting up here talking about celebrities and all that other stuff. Like, what are they going to do for me right now? I don't want to waste a whole hour wanting to hear about what's going on with the next housewives, whatever. It's not doing anything for me right now, but let's have a meaningful conversation about how we can get this together.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's how they still add some type of value, even though they're people I like to hang out with, go to a restaurant or things like that. But it's just a lot of, when I can probably do a podcast on the things I do to stay healthy. I can do that alone.
That would be awesome. That would definitely be awesome, because there's so many people that can get so much value from what you're saying. Excuse me. Even if they don't have a mental health condition, just everything that you said is something that we should practice on our regular everyday regimen. Watching who you're around, knowing your triggers, knowing when you're being triggered by certain people. Different energies and different spirits transfer. And so if someone's just negative all the time and you're around them and you have something going on with depression, then that's just going to add on to what you have going on, So it's very important to monitor what you listen to on TV, what music you listen to. Falling asleep with the television on, just playing regular shows is not healthy.
No, it's not.
His mind.
Because you don't know what's being said and what is said. And I really believe, as a Christian woman, I really do believe in the spiritual realm. A lot of people think that as Christians, some of us, they don't understand that in the Christian faith, you really understand that you are wrestling with spirits in high places. And so if you are listening to just anything, okay, and you don't know what they're saying, those things could be speaking death to you. Those things, it could be speaking to your spirit, So what are you feeding your spirit man at night? Because the spirit man never sleeps.
Right.
So you listen to negativity at night, you feeding your spirit man that negativity. That's why I'm even careful on when I put on my podcast worship music, which stations I listen to, because not all worship music is created equal. So I'm very careful. Like when I'm serious about what I feel feed my spirit man, I am so serious about that, because we it's not, as the word of God teaches, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. We are dealing with spirits in high places, and we got to be very careful on how we maneuver our day, and also how we allow those things to affect our mindsets.
Yes.
It's what keeps us in these strongholds, is because of the mindsets we develop, because the things that we're listening to, the people we're hanging around. But I forgot to mention that I also volunteer.
Oh,
that helps me. I have my own 501c3,
Yeah.
And so I do, I have, which one of the signature programs is a youth development program. And so I do a lot of volunteering because it gives me a chance to step outside myself, not look at the issues that I'm dealing with, and
Right.
realize it helps keep me humble.
Mm.
Because for that day, for the first couple of days, I'm feeling down, upset because this not done, that's not done. But then when I get out there and I do things like feeding the homeless, and
Mm.
it really puts in perspective, Leticia, what is it that you really got to complain about? It keeps me humble. It keeps me looking at, even in the midst of things that's going on, the blessings that God has given me.
Yeah.
Now let me say this. A lot of people think that what I've come across, a lot of people think that when someone is in depression or dealing with depression, they say stuff like, you life could be worse, you got it better than most people. And that's not what depression is about. It really is. It's like an intense emotion.
Yes.
And it's not that you don't see that you're blessed. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that you don't see that you have things better than anyone else. It's like you can't stop when it's time to rain. You can't stop that dark cloud from coming in that sky. All you can do is put on a raincoat and get your umbrella and go throughout the day. And that's what I tell people when it comes to depression. I can't stop that rain cloud from coming over my head. It's not that I don't see the goodness around, but that rain cloud comes, and it's that intense feeling that you crying and you don't understand why.
Yeah.
And then you can't talk to certain people because then they make you feel worse than what you already do.
Yeah.
So what you do is you put on your raincoat, you get your umbrella, and you do what you got to do until that rain cloud is gone. And when it's gone, you feeling good again. So that's another thing. I'm very careful with when I'm in those moments, who I talk to, because they allow me to be in the moment for whatever long I need and to go through it, because they know me well enough that I'm not going to sit in it for too long. I'm having a moment, and I just need you to sympathize with me or empathize with me. Walk me through it. But I am coming out of it. What I
Mm.
don't need you to tell me, you got it better than most people, or you're blessed and this thing. I know these things.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't, my brain is telling me I'm sad, so it's like I gotta do something. I got to get out the anger. I gotta get out the frustration. The chemical imbalance won't allow me to feel the excitement for right now,
Right.
So anyway, I went into a long spiel,
No,
but
you're
what I was
good.
trying to
You're
say is I
good.
do volunteer. I wanted to say that because I just heard in my head, I'm hearing somebody go, well, if you see how blessed you are compared to others, and why you so depressed. See, that's how I know you don't understand depression.
Right.
you
Right.
know, but going back to what I said, volunteering really helps me a lot. It
Mm.
does help me to stay focused. It does help me to stay grounded. It just keeps me humble. It
Mm.
keeps me humble. And not only that though, the main thing though, it feels good.
Yes.
It feels good to do something for someone.
Yeah.
It feels good to see someone come back and say, "Oh, you blessed my life." That feels really, really good. Or you give something and they're like, "Oh my God, I really needed this. I didn't know how it's like." That feels good when God uses, you see how God used you to bless somebody else. And that, I think humanity is forgetting that.
Yes.
It feels we're not on this earth for ourselves. We're on our gifts, our talents are not for us. It's for others.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoy and we can benefit from it, but it's from others. It's for
Yeah.
others. And so I love to volunteer because it makes me feel so good inside. Like it releases those same endorphins as exercising. So
Yes.
I tell people like that definitely you want to try that because I love it.
I think you're doing an awesome job with all of the different tools and practices and rituals and everything that you're doing, because you're managing it well. You're taking steps to prepare so that when those rain clouds come, you are already giving yourself the self-care that you deserve. And this is something that we need to do just as individual people in general. We have to get back to self-care. We have to get back to learning who should be in our space and who should not be in our space. But I'm going to pause for a moment because we have so many comments and I want to respond to the individuals who are commenting. So Lee Dior has said, amen. Hello, ladies. Yes, preach, queen. Christine has said, this is awesome. Basim said, absolutely, help others heal is rewarding. And so thank you all to the listeners and viewers who are watching. We are here to help bring awareness to mental health conditions because we all have something that we're dealing with, you know, whether you're clinically diagnosed by a doctor or not. Once in our lifetime, many of us, majority of us, have dealt with some type of depression, some type of anxious moment, some type of anxiety on a situation. So just learning how to balance those emotions and learning how to prepare for when those emotions come. And I think, Leticia, you made a great point, and you said you do a lot of preparation. So I think a lot of people don't understand is that if you don't prepare and isolate yourself from situations that could cause you to be triggered to go into a state of depression, that's the part that I think people are not realizing. Because some people may hear, oh, well, that's your family, that's your best friend, and you've known this person for like 20 years. You should still be friends with them. But sometimes individuals need their time, they need their space in order for them to regroup, empty their cup of toxic energy, and refill their cup of positive affirmations. And so that's super important. And so before we go, Leticia, I just want to quickly, if you can, please talk about your podcast, please.
Okay, thank you. So inside the Chrysalis podcast, you can find us on YouTube. And my producer, he's the one that knows all the other places where you can find it. It's sad I don't remember those, but I know we're on YouTube. But you can find us on YouTube. And the purpose of the podcast is to provide a platform for the world to see that there are people living with a mental health condition that are thriving, not just surviving, not just living, but thriving. And all of the guests that I've had on my show, they have been like authors, they have their own podcasts, they've opened up businesses. I've had a lot of businesses, business owners or entrepreneurs, and I love it. And it gets people to see, hear the stories of people, everyday people. Every day, it gets to show people the world that those that's living with or managing with a mental health condition, they are everyday people just like us. One of the statistics that NAMI has is that 1 in 5 people I think it's 1 in 5, you can look it up when you get a chance, but 1 in 5 people will be diagnosed with a mental health condition in their lifetime. So if you got about 15 people, or let's just say you got 20 people, that's 4 people in the room right there that has a mental health condition, And so I just want to show that there are people out there that are living and thriving, surviving, doing wonderful things, so that we will, can erase the stigma associated with mental health. We can educate the public. We're not a professional health podcast. So I don't want anyone coming to the podcast looking for, well, this is what I heard and this is what, no, we talk about what helps. Each person talks about what helps them, so we still suggest that you see a therapist, you see whomever you need to see to get healthy. But that's the purpose of the podcast.
And it's amazing. I've been on a podcast in the past and I had an amazing time when I was there. And I appreciate you having me on your show.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have a couple more comments here. Basim said, you have to get to know yourself in order to know what is good for you. That is the absolute truth.
Yes.
That is the absolute truth. Because for me, when I was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety and depression, and I was taking all those different types of medications, it did not work with my chemical balance. Like, it had me off balance even more. And so I found that meditation has literally allowed me to just go to a whole nother level of inner peace and manage. And I don't really have any triggers like that anymore. I'm rarely triggered compared to how I was prior to my healing journey. And it's so many different plant medicines out there. You were talking about CBD. CBD has so many amazing properties to help individuals depending on their mental health condition. Now, some are not able to use them depending on what they are experiencing and what their conditions are. But just do your research. There's a lot of information out there online. You can talk to a doctor. You can talk to a counselor. You can talk to a life coach, a spiritual advisor, your pastor, a shaman, whoever you choose to go to. Just talk to somebody, okay? That is the purpose of this show. We need us to have the conversation so that we can get to a space of healing. We are not healing in our communities because we have so much trauma. We don't realize it. And so it's very important for us to heal. Do you have any last words you would like to say before we go?
That's always the hardest part when I'm asked I'm like, I never have a last word other to say, but if you do, please check out Inside the Chrysalis podcast. On the lower screen, you do see where you can find us on Instagram. And just please like, share, and subscribe because we want to spread the word about people living and thrive. And these are really great stories. Every guest, including you, have had some amazing stories. And I just want to make sure that those stories get out there so people can see how successful their lives have been and that they can be encouraged. The main thing is, as that person that commented earlier, you have to know you first. You can't make it, and knowing you means also being able to look in the mirror and be able to, confront the good part and be honest about the parts we don't like. Because if you don't confront it, you're not going to change it. So.
Yes, thank you so much for being here on the show. I really appreciate you. And if you can, please go ahead and check out her podcast. It is absolutely amazing. It is on YouTube. She is on Instagram. Go find her and follow her.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I just want to say thank you so much to all of my viewers, all of my listeners. You all have been so phenomenal. And I have some amazing news to share with you guys. Oh my goodness. I'm super excited that I am going to be moving on to the next round of a new reality TV show that is coming out. The TV show is called Influence Me TV. And this show is for influencers. And so our primary goal for the next phase of the competition is to advocate for mental health awareness. And I have been doing that so much already. So it just makes it so much easier for me moving forward. So on March 8th, we will have voting, and I need all of my listeners, all of my viewers. If you can, please vote for me. I will be able to share the links, but it's not available just yet. As soon as it's available, we are raising funds for the Jade Foundation, which advocates for mental health awareness. And we want to be able to get those funds so that they can get it back to the communities so that we can, help people learn about their mental health conditions, as well as give them healthy coping mechanisms and give them the resources and the tools that they need. So again, I just want to say Thank you again to each and every one of my viewers and my listeners. Without y'all, I would not have been able to even make it to this phase, because they look at everything that you're doing online. And I'm just grateful and honored that I have the opportunity to do this and just to make a change in our community, because we need more positive outlets out there for people so they can see that regardless of where you come from, you can do and be whatever you want. Okay. So whoever's listening to me, you can be whatever you want. Don't allow anyone to put you in a box and make you believe that you cannot achieve your goals, because you can. Next week, we do have a show. That show will be live. And I'm super excited. The show next week, oh my goodness, we have an amazing survivor. She's going to be able to share her story about her traumas and how she was able to overcome them. So thank you so much again for listening to Survivor Not by Chance podcast. You all have a great night. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for listening to the Survivor Not by Chance podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you to today's guest. We are survivors not by chance. We survive because we fought to survive. Peace and blessings to you all.